2022 is looking set to be another year full of incredible games, from blockbuster hits, long-awaited sequels, and brand new IP. This year is looking absolutely insane. So today, we're going to get stuck into my top 10 most anticipated Xbox games for this year. Let's get started. Welcome to Direckt Gaming. Thank you as always for checking out one of my videos. If you like the content that we create here on the channel, I would love for you to hit the like and subscribe buttons and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video. These lists are all about bringing you positive Xbox content, helping you find your next favorite game on Xbox, and saving you money with Xbox Game Pass. We're going to run down 10 games today that are my most anticipated, and some of these are multi-platform, yes, absolutely, but I'm really excited for their release on Xbox nonetheless. So let's get right into this list with number 10, Tunic. Announced now many years ago and finally getting a release date at the Game Awards in December, Tunic has been much anticipated for a long time now from lone developer Andrew Schultes and published by Finji. As a little fox exploring a mysterious world with a mysterious language that adds to this feeling of being in a world unknown for the little guy, combat looks fun and some of the environmental designs look like they are going to be more diverse than what I initially thought when seeing some of the lush green areas from the first trailers shown a few years ago. The isometric action adventure game will be releasing on all Xbox platforms as well as PC on March 16th. And if it lives up to the very high expectations that people have for it, it could be one of those really timeless and successful indie games. With Zelda-esque combat and exploration, a gorgeous design, and of course an adorable protagonist, Tunic is shaping up to be a hit indie title for the first quarter of 2022. Number 9, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. A game which was set to launch in April until very recently, which has now been pushed all the way back to December 8th due to the COVID-19 pandemic. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl is the long time coming sequel to the cult classic PC game from 2007. We got our first glimpse of the gameplay in action back at Xbox's E3 showcase in 2021, and it was one of the longest gameplay segments shown, and it did not disappoint. Gorgeous ray-traced lighting, a creepy and thrilling setting with horrific creatures, awesome weapons, and a serious horror vibe, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is looking to take full advantage of the next-gen Xbox consoles and modern PCs and will be a graphical powerhouse. Developed by Ukrainian team GSC Game World and reportedly running in Unreal Engine 5, the return of one of the most beloved and cult first-person series is something that has been much anticipated by players for a very long time now. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 will be releasing day and date into Game Pass for consoles and PC, and although we'll have to wait a little bit longer for its release, it looks sure to impress with its visuals and gameplay. Number 8, Steelrising. The next game from French developer Spiders, who released the fantastic Redfall back in 2019, Steelrising is set in an alternate history version of the French Revolution, where you play as an automaton called Aegis who is fighting to help the revolution succeed. With a unique clockwork vibe and mechanical enemies, it sounds like Steelrising could be quite the departure from Redfall's almost Dragon Age-esque squad-based combat systems, and with the developers pushing the game's difficulty and bosses, it could be more akin to the action skill-based combat of a Souls-like. Redfall, despite its lower budget and thus its limitations, was packed full of lore and great storytelling through its writing and characters, and I'm excited to see what Spiders manages to pull off with Steelrising when it releases in June this year. Each time this developer releases a new game, it seems to push the boundaries of what they've achieved before, and I can only hope Steelrising continues the trend and makes a real impact on the gaming industry for AA style games in 2022. Number 7, Forza Motorsport. Alright, so this might be a bit of a cheat entry because we don't actually know if the next installment in the Forza Motorsport series will really be coming out in 2022. And with the global pandemic continuing to push games back throughout the industry, this could well slip into 2023. However, it is a game I'm anticipating highly, and so I wanted to include it in this list. Turn 10 haven't released a Forza Motorsport game since 2017, and although they've assisted development on the hugely popular Horizon games from 2018 and just last year, the flagship Xbox Game Studios simulation racing developer has been busy in the background for a long time now. building the game from the ground up for the Xbox Series generation as well as PC, the next Forza Motorsport game will no doubt be a graphical powerhouse as it always is. And with the team dropping the numbered moniker and softly rebooting the series, it'll be interesting to see if this is a play at long-term and ongoing support, rather than a biennial franchise they've previously done in the past. Either way, you know this game will be a masterclass for not just graphical prowess, but also in-game design and the thrill of simulation driving. And for racing fans for both PlayStation and Xbox, with the next Gran Turismo dropping very soon too, 2022 could be one hell of a year. Number 6. Marvel's Midnight Suns. Revealed last year at Gamescom opening night live from the developers at Firaxis, known previously for their stellar work on the XCOM series, Marvel's Midnight Suns looks set to merge the team's previous turn-based strategy experience with a very interesting Marvel series. This game seems like it'll be closer to Fire Emblem Three Houses though, as in between the turn-based strategic combat, which will be determined with card-based abilities, a somewhat divisive decision, you'll be running around your base of operations called the Abbey as a brand new, customizable and original character in the Marvel Universe called the Hunter. You'll get to develop relationships with your squad, including Doctor Strange, Wolverine, Magic, Iron Man, Ghost Rider, Blade, Captain Marvel, and more. This squad of interesting, almost supernatural focused Marvel characters looks incredibly interesting. And despite some people's reservations around the card-based combat, I have no doubt that the team that developed the excellent XCOM reboot series are talented enough to create something truly incredible here. This game was originally slated for release in March, although it has been pushed back to the second half of 2022, but I am stupidly excited about this new take on the turn-based tactics genre. Number 5. Redfall. The upcoming vampire-themed open-world cooperative immersive sim from one of my favourite developers, Arcane Austin, Redfall could be one of the first big Bethesda exclusives to release after the acquisition last year, as long as it comes out as expected this summer and doesn't get a delay. And although we haven't seen any gameplay and we only have one trailer to go off, Arcane are a studio that really never disappoints. And I have high hopes for what they're going to do with a new IP, co-op gameplay and what looks like a bit more of a fun and wacky world after the seriousness of Dishonored. With some of the industry's best level design and a penchant for fun powers, putting the creativity in the hands of the players thanks to a brilliant set of tools, abilities, weapons and ways to tackle levels and missions, I could see this game really liberating the player to play the way they want. Set in the titular town of Redfall, Massachusetts, vampires have blocked out the sun and have isolated your town from the rest of the world, requiring you, the player, and your friends to slay vampires in the most creative ways. Devinda, Layla, Remy, and Jacob are your playable characters, almost Borderlands-esque with their locked-in character traits and abilities. And as well as your typical vampire squads, you'll have to tackle boss fights against ultra-powerful leaders of the vampires as well with their own suites of abilities. I truly can't wait to see some gameplay, and I think Xbox are about to start a big marketing push soon after their big releases over the holidays have settled down, so let's hope we see more from Arcane and Redfall very soon. Number 4. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. This year is just loaded with games that are pretty much perfect for me, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is nearly on top of that list. I am a huge fan of Borderlands, and the more of that goodness, the better in my opinion. But Wonderlands also looks to change things up enough to not just feel like another expansion for Borderlands 3, but a standalone game itself. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands takes cues from the Bunkers and Badasses expansion from Borderlands 2, and sets you out in a fantasy world created by the insane and hilarious Tina, where this time, instead of choosing from a roster of predetermined characters, you get to customize your own hero, and as well as an unending list of procedurally generated guns, there will be crossbows, magic, abilities, and more. The story seems predictably bonkers, as all good Borderlands is, and I imagine it will have some meaningful character moments as they usually sprinkle in there too for those who care. With a star-studded voice cast including Andy Samberg and Will Arnett, and even a D&D inspired board game element to Wonderlands, another outing in the Borderlands universe will definitely not go astray. Number 3. A Plague Tale Requiem. The first game in the series from Asobo Studio, A Plague Tale Innocence, was a beautiful narrative thriller that absolutely captivated me when I played it back in 2019. For a AA studio to create such a gorgeous game with excellent mechanics, but one that really stood out for its character development and narrative, despite it getting a bit crazy at the end, it was such a memorable title. And when the talented team at Asobo announced the sequel Requiem at E3 last year, it blew me and many other people away. The visuals look even better than ever, and the in-house developed engine, which they also use on the ridiculous Flight Simulator, has got to be one of the best looking in the industry. A few years have passed since the events of the first game, and it looks like the sequel will be taking place in the south of France on beautiful beaches, gorgeous countrysides, and coastal towns. Amicia de Rune and her brother return, and although the plot isn't entirely clear just from the trailer, Hugo's powers I'm sure are being sought after by the church in what will be another gripping story and hopefully captures some more of that great character interactivity that the first game excelled in. Although it doesn't have a release date yet, and at this rate still has the potential to be delayed, A Plague Tale Requiem is a game I will be paying close attention to, and so should you. Number 2. Elden Ring. Well, this one is an absolute no-brainer, and some of you are probably surprised it's not number 1, but I'm saving that for something else. Elden Ring is the incredibly long-awaited, highly anticipated, and very exciting next entry from the lauded and loved team at From Software. Headed up by Hidetaka Miyazaki and co-created by Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin. Bringing influences of Dark Souls, Sekiro, and Bloodborne into an open-world setting, in a brand new world called the Lands Between, you play as the Tarnished and are set out into the world to destroy the evil that rampages through these beautiful lands and find the Elden Ring. This game just looks so ridiculously good, and every single thing we've heard from players, journalists, and content creators has been super positive, and I think this has the chops to be one of the greatest games of all time. Although I've never played a Souls game and I haven't even played Bloodborne, I was an absolute huge fan of Sekiro, and with some of the mechanics pulled in from that game like stealth and more open traversal, it has me itching to get stuck into Elden Ring in less than a month's time. It's gonna kill me, but I will play and finish that game. And number 1, Starfield. Although we've seen very little outside of a couple of teaser trailers and some concept artwork, the more I think about Starfield and the fact that we're getting a brand new game from Bethesda Game Studios in a brand new world set in a sci-fi universe, the more excited I get. I know at this stage I think Bethesda is somewhat maligned and joked about, as Fallout 4 wasn't great and Fallout 76 was a complete failure at launch, but when I recently went back to play Skyrim Anniversary Edition, I just fell in love all over again. And I marveled at what that game truly is, a truly awesome Western RPG filled with interesting people, places, storylines, lore, weaponry, skills, magic, and so much more. And I hope Starfield brings that kind of energy to this spacefaring story with modern visuals and some exciting mechanics. Although Xbox Game Studios seem to be working on a whole heap of Western RPGs currently, they're yet to come out just yet, and I feel like gamers have been sorely missing the genre in recent years. Games like The Outer Worlds, The Witcher, Skyrim, Mass Effect, Dragon Age have a very special place in my heart, and I'm incredibly excited for Todd Howard and his team to show off Starfield in all its glory. I can see it being the showpiece of Xbox's E3 showcase this year, and it truly blowing us away. Therefore, it is my most anticipated game of 2022. And that's my list. What did you think about all the games on this list? Which are you most excited about? And like I said, a lot of these games are multi-platform, but I'm excited for their Xbox releases nonetheless, and a bunch of these are coming to Game Pass on day 1. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below and tell me the games you're most excited for this year. And while you're here, make sure, like I said at the start of the video, you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single upload on Direckt Gaming. We've got some exciting Elden Ring content coming out, so get subscribed and you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.